Society for Creation of Opportunity Through Proficiency in English is to build English language proficiency among the youth of Gujarat and thereby to create employment opportunities for them, to enhance knowledge of English among the youth of Gujarat and to inspire and encourage them to learn English. Scope organizing various competitions, workshops, webinars, e-quizzes and courses. Now, I would request and I would like to invite our joint CEO of Scope, Mansi ma'am, to share a few words on this occasion.
Hello, good afternoon all. Good afternoon all the participants and respected judges, Dr. Manish Vyas and Dr. Beenal Gadvi. All of you are very much welcome to Scope. I heartily congratulate to all the semi-finalists who has presented their stories in bewildering way. Storytelling is a word which makes us very happy because it takes to us all to a different environment, a different world. Storytelling is a skill which conveys a lot in a nutshell, right? And it is such a skill that it conveys bitter reality of life in a very sweeter way. It is a kind of sugar-coated pill. Like when a mother wants a kid to have a bitter medicine, what mother does? First, she will put some sugar on his or her tongue and then gives him or her a bitter medicine. In same manner, storytelling gives us life lessons in a sugar-coated manner. Story builds the character of a child in a play way. Child learns the greatest lesson of life, and your all stories are very much good, and it was like some of the stories are very much giving the life lessons very well. And today I am happy that the final round of storytelling is here. And let's not take more time, and let's start our competition. And don't take it as a competition, but I would rather say, let's start the tour to the world of imagination. So I heartily congratulate all, and once again, I welcome you all to the competition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi ma'am, for your kind words. Now, I would like to invite our today's judge, Dr. Manish Vyas, sir. Dr. Manish Vyas is Associate Professor at LDRT Institute of Technology and Research. He is recognized PhD supervisor at Kadi University. He holds a postgraduate degree from Sardar Patel University and a PhD from Gujarat University in American Drama. He is the author of 3 books and around 15 research papers. He had also rendered his services to the Gujarat Board of School Textbooks in the subject of English as a reviewer as well as to the National Institute of Open Schooling as a translator. He had been a postdoctoral research fellow at the Indo-American Center for International Studies, Hyderabad in 2009. I would request Sir to say a few words and inspire all the finalists. Manish.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Mrs. Mansi. Uh, Congratulations, first of all, to all the participants who, in this pandemic time, thought of coming out of with interesting tales. As Mansi rightly pointed out, storytelling is an art which which has now few takers in today's world of Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and WhatsApp. But in the ancient times, the stories were deliberately to instill wide sense of ethical values, morality, and also equally for entertainment. Uh, as a uh, as a teacher and as well as a person who has been in touch with literature, I still would like to advocate the art of storytelling for for an overall development of students and learners. whether they belong to any age group. So I'm eagerly, looking forward to listening to the stories, to the twists and turns, to some mythical tales, which I was informed that they would be doing. And wish you all the very, very best to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite our next judge, Beenal Gadvi, ma'am. Beenal Gadvi is currently serving as an assistant professor at Nand Kuwarba Mahila College, Bhavnagar. She is a gold medalist with extensive experience of 10 years in teaching. She is pursuing her PhD from Gujarat Technological University. She has done Master in Business Administration from Gujarat University. She is event coordinator of Fiesta annual event at Nankuvarba Mahila College and judge numerous events like elocution competition, poetry recitation, and storytelling competition. She is passionate towards teaching and learning. Her vision is to transform people's potential into success. I would request Beenal ma'am to inspire students with her kind words. Yes, Beenal.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind and generous words. Good afternoon, dear students. I'm so happy to see you guys because, the storytelling competition is a path which takes you to the imagination, and you all have done a great job. And many, many congratulations to get selected in the final round. And I have reviewed your stories, which were really excellent, and in terms of creativity, pronunciation, and presentation. So here I would like to recite one poem for the youth who always dream to achieve something and want to reach all heights of the world. So the poem's title is Dare to Dream. Close your eyes and let your imagination fly away. See a picture of where you wish to be one day. Let the colors of your heart take a command to paint the picture of your dream and place it on your hand. Hold on tightly and nurture it, but allow it room to grow. When you reach your dream, open your hand and let it go. Close your eyes and search for another, carrying it as before. Never stop searching and achieving and letting go, for that's what the dreams are for. So let's start with the competition with a beautiful poem and have a big dreams and always try to achieve it. And all the very best to my dear students. And shall we proceed, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you, Beenal ma'am, for encouraging and inspiring students and sharing a very nice story with them. So we will proceed further for the competition. Before starting the competition, I will just brief you about the rule of the competition. You are supposed to speak. While you speak, your camera should turn on, and rest of the participants should turn off your camera. And while you are speaking, if any kind of technical issues arises, then you are allowed to turn off your camera and you have to just share your story. I will again just recall you and brief you about the topics which we have given for the final round of 5 topics for this storytelling competition. The first topic is give a modern twist to classic fairy tales from your childhood. The second topic is take up an old world story and reimagine how they would act with modern technology. The third topic is travel to some new place and set a story in that backdrop. The fourth topic is dig old mythological stories and use them in a present settings. And the last topic, fifth one, solve a real problem and show how you do it better. So out of this 5, participant has to select any one out of this, and they have to speak minimum. The time limit is 3 minutes and maximum is 5 minutes. If the participant go beyond 5 minutes, Then we will put a buzzer over here. So we will run the buzzer, and after that the participant will not allow to speak. So we will start the competition. The first participant of the competition is Shivani Pandey. Shivani Pandey. Is Shivani Pandey is there with us? Is Shivani Pandey? Okay. Then we will start with Twara Makad. Twara Makad.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You can.
Ma'am, am I visible?
You are not visible to us. Yeah, now you are visible and audible too. So you can start your story. And again, I will share you the evaluation criteria. You are going to evaluate on the basis of 5 basic points. That is, content carries 20 marks, pronunciation content 20 marks, presentation content carries 20 marks, creativity carries 20 marks, and the intonation accuracy is carries 20 marks. Total comes to 100. Yes. All the best.
Okay. Thank you. So, hello judges and an exuberant afternoon to all the participants. Myself, Twara.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. You have to speak first of all your name, from where you belong, and the topic of your story, and then start with your story. Yes, you may.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. So once again, hello judges and an exuberant afternoon to everyone. I am Twara Mankad from Rajkot, studying in Dhodakia School, 12th standard currently. Today I am going to recreate a wonderful fantasy, that is Alice in Wonderland, which we all must have come across in our childhood. So this is how the new version of the story goes. Alice, a 12-year-old girl, was sitting in the veranda, but all she could help was getting bored. Her sister had promised to play with her that evening, but she got busy reading a book. So Alice picked a tree beside her sisters and sat there. As she leaned back, she saw one of the strangest things ever. She saw an empty plastic bottle talking to the wind. She was aghast. A talking bottle? And to add to her surprise, she overheard what the bottle was talking to the wind. The bottle said, "Oh, wind, please, hurry up. We need to reach there before others do." Alice was as shocked as you and me right now. She decided to follow the bottle. She rushed behind the bottle with equal speed, just to reach in a water body which seemed nothing less than an ocean. She felt some tickling near her feet and hands and saw many tiny colorful fishes, all covered with plastic bags, and they were shouting, "Oh, please save us! Please help us out! Please save us!" Alice ran to their rescue and helped them out. As a gesture of gratitude, the fish took her on a ride to the ocean. And what she sees there? She overhears a group of whales talking. "Oh, our home is no more ours. Now we have to find a way out of this scrap." Now this was really furious for Alice. She asked the whales, "Is this a daily situation?" The whales replied, "Oh, this is nothing as compared to those windy days." Alice now realized how fool they have been to throw those bits of garbage, not pondering upon where they would ultimately get accumulated and cost someone their life. But then she answered the whales, "Don't you worry, my friends. I will clean this ocean and I will inform the cops regarding this. Yes, I will inform the cops. Yes, I will inform the cops. I will. Alice, Alice, get up, Alice. And as soon as Alice opened her eyes, the ocean was gone. She realized it was her dream. Her sister said, Alice, you are bluffing something in your dreams. Please, now get up. Come on, we need to go home. Alice realized that it was her dream. But ironically, this dream opened her eyes. She got a better perspective and she told her sister, we will write an email to the UN supporting them in their sustainable goals, which says to save life underwater. We will contribute in making life underwater worth living. And after some years, Alice Wonderland turns into a wonderful land. Thank you.
Swara has nicely sharing a story, a wonderful story she has shared. Our next participant is Meenal Dervi, Suryavanshi, Meenal, Ashish Kumar. Okay, she's not there. Riddhi Mehta. Is Riddhi Mehta there with us? Riddhi
Yes,
Mehta.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can turn on your video and share your story.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, am I visible?
Yes, no, you are not visible. You are audible.
Okay.
I can listen to you, but you are not visible. You need to turn on your video.
Ma'am, I actually did. 1 minute. Ma'am, I think I am having some issue. Can I just go after this one?
Okay. Can we have Hirwa? The next participant is Hirwa Vora. Hirwa Vora. Yes. You need to turn on your. Yes. You are visible and audible. You can start your story. You are not audible. Excuse me. Hirwa, you are not audible. I can see you, but I cannot hear your voice. You need to put your. Yes. No, no. You are not audible. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Now you are audible.
Very good afternoon to everyone, respected judges and all my exuberant competitors. Today, I, Hirva Bora, want to share with you a beautiful story on the topic Solve Real Problems and Show How Betting is Done. So, before starting with the story, I want to ask you a question that have you ever felt like giving up just because things are not going at your expected pace? Have you ever felt like finishing everything that you are doing just because you don't have any reason to continue living? Have you ever felt like ending whatever you are doing just because you don't see? Well, whenever a person is surrounded by negative thoughts and emotions, he or she may think of quitting. Do remind yourself of simple yet profound analogy. It is one of the most favorite analogy of mine since I have heard it. So here it is. A man plants seeds.
Can I interrupt you, Hirva? Hello.
Hello, hello.
Uh, is anybody there from IT side at Scope?
Yes, sir.
Madam, there is too much of disturbance coming. What you can do is to unmute. Is to mute every other people, every other person in this group except Hirva.
Yes. Okay, sir. Yeah, I'll do that.
आप आपके वहां से सबको म्यूट कर दो तो वो नॉइज नहीं आएगा. Now, Hirva, you can take, you can start from the beginning.
Once again, very good afternoon to everyone, respected judges and all my exuberant competitors. Today, I, Hirva Bora, wants to share with you a beautiful story on the topic, solve real problems and show how better you do it. So, before starting with the story, I want to ask you some questions that have you ever felt like giving up just because things are not going at your expected pace? Have you ever felt like finishing everything that you are doing just because you don't have any reason to continue living? Have you ever felt like ending everything because you see no growth? Well, whenever a person is surrounded by negative thoughts, he or she may think of quitting. Do remind yourself of simple yet profound analogy. It is the most favorite of mine since I've heard it. So here it is. A man planted a bamboo and fern seed. He really cared for both of them. He also made sure that both of them get adequate sunlight, water, and proper minerals. He was so delightful to see that the fern spring out from the earth very nicely, and soon it covered the entire surrounding with its beautiful green bright color. But he was disappointed too, as nothing came out from the bamboo. In the second year, he saw that the fern was luxuriant, vibrant, and abundant. But nothing came out from the bamboo seed still. In the third year, same, nothing came out, but he didn't give up. He continued carefully, and even he watered it daily. It was in the fifth year that the man saw tiny sprouts of the bamboo seed emerged from the earth. It was so tiny and insignificant compared to the fern. But from the 6 months then, it shot up to the height of over 100 meters tall. Now the man realized that the bamboo spent those 5 years developing its root. It was those roots which made it strong. It was those roots which helped it to survive, thrive, and grow. Isn't it true that life does not give anyone a challenge that they cannot handle? If you are facing any challenge right now, know for sure that you have capacity to handle it. Don't give up on yourself just like the man did not give up on bamboo. Don't compare yourself with others because bamboo and fern both are very different. Yet they together make the forest very beautiful. Relax, keep calm, keep focusing on yourself and go ahead. You will shoot up one day, and to your extent potential. We cannot give birth to a child in 1 month by making 9 women pregnant, right? And also, London is 5 hours ahead than New York. That doesn't make London fast or New York slow. So everything in life happens at right time. Don't hurry and don't worry. You are neither too late nor too early. You are just on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Hirva. Our next participant is Sanskruti Vekar. Sanskruti Vekar.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible, but you are not visible. Sanskruti.
Am I visible now, ma'am?
No, not yet. Now you are visible and audible.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You may start your story.
Okay. Firstly, a very good afternoon to the distinguished dignitaries and my fellow finalists. My name is Sanskruti Vaikar and I am pursuing Bachelor's in Pharmacy from ITM SLS Baroda University. Today my topic is digging old mythological stories and using them in the present settings. So this story is basically about me and my favorite neighboring auntie named Geeta. After completing my studies for 2 years in Vadodara, I had visited my native place for vacation. It was the time when I just placed my foot on the station platform and all I could see was those huge banners of my aunt who had just become the mayor of the city. I was amused till I reached my home because everywhere the city was bombarded with just her banners. Along with being happy, I was much more shocked because Aunt Geeta always hated politics and the politicians, even when her husband was ex-mayor of the city. You must be confused. How is this possible? Let me tell you. Aunt Geeta is a very kind, helpful, and social person. All she wanted to do in her life was to help people and improve society. In fact, she was founder of an NGO. But on the other hand, her husband was totally opposite to her. Even being a mayor, he was a corrupted person with selfish nature and no motive to improve the society. He was the reason Aunt Geeta hated politics and politicians so much. As soon as I reached home, I threw my bag on the couch and ran to ring the doorbell of my aunt home so that I could ask her the question, what was the reason that she had to take such the drastic step? The moment she opened her house door, she hugged me and said, "Oh, my child, I'm so happy to see you. When did you come?" Even I was happy to see her, but the curiosity in my mind was at such a high peak that I did not even greet her back. And the first thing I asked her was, "Aunt Geeta, you hated politics so much. Then how did this happen?" She replied, "Calm down, my child. I know you have a lot of questions. Just come inside, sit, and I'll tell you everything." We were sitting on this comfortable couch of hers, and then she told me everything. She said that, "Oh, my child, you know what our city had become. Everyone started hating my husband, and as everyone knew how my nature is, they insisted me to stand up against my husband for the mayor's position in the upcoming elections. It was not at all easy for me. It was the most difficult task because even though we had our fights and our thoughts did not match, but I had always tried my best to keep our marriage going. I had to find a way where I could save my marriage life as well as my city. I was so much confused and stressed that on other hand, I had this marriage life, and on one hand, I had the dream to fulfill and improve my society. But do you know how Arjun fought his own family members and his teachers on the Kurukshetra? Yes, he was as confused and stressed as I was. But then Lord Krishna explained him. Yes, Arjun gave up his bow by saying, Siddhanti mama gacchani, gatrani parishushyati, which meant I had lost all my power and I cannot fight my own family and my teacher. Lord Krishna explained him that for society's welfare and for the truth, even if your blood relations stand up against you, you have to stand up to them and fight them because it is your responsibility and it is your duty. Later on, Lord Krishna explained whole Bhagavad Gita to him. Then Arjun's mind was cleared and he picked up his bow by saying, Karishyam Vachanantava, which meant, I will say, as you say, Lord Krishna, I will do what you want. And with this inspiration, Aunt Gita stood up against his husband and he fought, and by God's grace and people's love, won the election. Fortunately, Aunt Gita said that her husband had realized that the path he had chosen was wrong and now even he supports her. After listening to Aunt Gita, even I realized that the mythological stories our grandmothers have talked us to sleep were not just for fun, but they were, are, and will always remain of utmost importance in our life. Thank you so much for listening.
Very nicely described a real story and very connected with the like Gita shlok and all. Thank you, Sanskruti. Our next participant is Bidias Omang Andre Victorian. Our next participant is Bidias.
Yes, ma'am.
You can turn on your video and put your mic on. You can
I'm
start.
not sure if I'm visible right now.
Yes, you are audible and visible. You can start.
Am I visible right now?
Yes, yes, you are visible and you are audible too.
Okay. So greetings to you, distinguished members of the jury, fellow contestants, and dear guests in the live video. My name is Bidias Omang Andre Victorian, and I'm a sophomore student at Marwadi University under the Civil Engineering course. So I'm glad we're here to share and listen to each other's inspiring stories. And I believe we're here today because we are very passionate about storytelling and sharing our experiences. And that's quite an achievement enough to be commended. Out there, I think there are lots of people that do not have such space to grow in their passion, be it physically or mentally. And this draws me to my story, a twist to the world-renowned story of Cinderella. This is the story of a young lady who has nothing in common with anybody around her, and she's about to get graduated from high school to university. Cinderella lives in the suburbs of South Africa. She lives with her aunt and her cousins because her parents have already passed away. So Cinderella has no hope in life apart from just living under her aunt's guidance. However, at school, Cinderella is underperforming. She's an underperforming student as her aunt does not even allow her to gain well-being, adequate lifestyle for studies. Meanwhile, her cousins have all the facilities they require. One day, however, the head of school in Cinderella's college, in Cinderella's high school, sorry, gets to class during one of the sessions and announces an aptitude test competition that will grant three of the best students direct admission to universities in the world, USA, Canada, and France. And one of those universities is University of British Columbia, the university which Cinderella has always dreamt of. By the way, Cinderella is very passionate about software engineering and programming. Meanwhile, in her class, she does not have the facilities to be able to perform coding and software engineering activities because the regular classes that she's going through are physics, literature, and some other unrelated subjects that makes her not even be able to perform at her optimum performances. However, Cinderella is decided to go through through this the preparation for this aptitude test and get ready for it with the hope of being accepted into one of of her beloved university. However, in this process, Cinderella's aunt and cousin wouldn't allow her to go through all the way. They're gonna put things in her way, making her get frustrated easily and not being able to achieve that goal at the end of the day. It's even reached to a point where during Cinderella's preparation for this competitive exam, Cinderella's aunt entered her room and she literally threw her computer away because Cinderella was not able to cook dinner for that night in particular. That makes Cinderella handicapped because
Vidyas, you are not audible. Please put your mic on. Vidyas, you are not audible. Not audible to us.
hello, mom.
Yeah. Now you are audible.
Have I been audible also?
Yes. You are audible now. You can start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I start my story?
Yes, you can start.
Was I audible before?
No. You were audible before. Where you have ended when I have interrupted you, from that moment you can start. You can continue with your story. Yeah, you continue with your story.
Okay, thank you. So it rendered Cinderella unable to pursue her preparation for the exam that came the next day. However, she went to her classmates. She ran out of the house without her aunt knowing and her cousins knowing, and she went and finished the night preparing for the exam in those harsh conditions. The next morning, she went for the exam. She sat for the exam 3 hours long. Her cousins were there, all prepared because they had all the facilities they needed, and they were able to get in for the exam in flying colors. Cinderella, however, at the end of the day, didn't make it at the end of the day, and she was frustrated because the results came out and she was literally among the last two people in the exam. On her way going back, she finds the son of the head of department in University of British Columbia struggling with an assignment in coding. And literally she thought to help him without even knowing who he was. So she literally went on and she assisted him go through all of his assignments with a very tight deadline in a matter of just an hour. She brilliantly did the assignment, and the guy and the student, the son of the head of college in University of British Columbia, was able to submit his assignment. Seeing that the head of the college decided to admit Cinderella directly into a foundation course in software engineering. Meanwhile, she didn't even succeed uh, the exam that was meant for the admission. My story is about letting people growing in their areas of talent and passion. We wouldn't necessarily judge a bird's best ability through his abilities of swimming in the ocean, or we wouldn't even judge a fish ability by him being able to fly. I think the lesson what I'm trying to convey here is that we should try and sensibilize the system in which we live so that we should be able to allow students to grow in their area of passion and interest. And for the lesson that a student can also learn from this story is to be able to strive and be resilient regardless of the hard work or havoc that might go through. Cinderella was an orphan which has no means of even striving to such a great university, but at the end of the day, with courage, hard work, and resilience, was able to make it through. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Our next participant is Neeti Thumar. Neeti Thumar.
Yes, ma'am.
You are audible, yes, you are visible too.
Okay. So, hello everyone to the, just a second. Am I visible?
Yes, you are visible too and audible too.
Okay, so let's start. My name is Nidhi Tomar and I'm currently pursuing BTech in Computer Engineering. Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to be telling you all a story on the topic of traveling to a place and setting a story in that backdrop. So this story is about a girl and I named the story The Escape. So this story is about a girl named Lee. She lived in North Korea, and as growing up, she really believed that her country was the best on the planet. And as growing up, she really contradict that herself. When she was growing up, she also wondered about what was on the outside world. And one day, her mother came and brought home a letter from a co-worker, and the letter read that by the time you read this letter, our family members will be already dead. It's because we haven't eaten for the past 3 weeks, and we are probably lying here and waiting to die. She was so shocked, and this was the first time she knew that her people in her country were suffering. So during that time, later a huge famine hit North Korea in the mid 1990s. So every more than a million of North Koreans died during that famine, and many only survived by eating tree or bugs and grass. And as the situation got worse, Lee was sent to China to live with distant relatives. As she traveled to China, she didn't know that it would take her 14 years to live together again with her family. Living in China as a young girl and as a North Korean refugee was extremely difficult and hard, as North Korean people are considered as illegal migrants in China. And one day, her worst nightmare came true. The Chinese police took her to the police station and interrogated her. Someone accused her of being North Korean. At that moment, she thought her life was over. She was really scared, and the officers asked her all the questions and testing her Chinese abilities, and she answered them very fiercely. And at last, the officer said that it was a false alarm. She's not North Korean. And it was a miracle in her life. She really couldn't believe that she pulled that off. But due to this constant fear of getting caught, she decided to move to South Korea, as she couldn't risk of all of that. So she moved to South Korea and was just getting started with her new life there. And suddenly she received a shocking phone call. It was that the North Korean authorities intercepted some money that she sent to her family, and now her family was being forcibly dislocated to some unknown location. They had to get out, so she flew back to China and headed to the North Korean border to rescue them. So as her family didn't know Chinese, so she had to guide them all the way across. And in this process, she lost almost every penny she had in bribing the officers. And even past the border, her family got arrested for illegal border crossing. And but she had some money left, so she paid the fine and the bribe, and her family got released in a month. But again, soon after, her family got arrested again for illegal border crossing. And this was a point where she was so hopeless in her life. It was one of the most lowest points in her life. She didn't know what to do, as she didn't have the money to escape her family, and she was literally broken. And at that time, a stranger approached her and asked her, like, what's wrong? Lee was really surprised that why would a stranger care enough to ask her? But she explained her whole situation to him, and without hesitation, the man went to the ATM and paid the rest of the money for her family. She thanked him with all of her heart and asked her the question that, why are you helping me? He said that, I'm not helping you, I'm helping the North Korean people. And at that time, she understood that it was symbolic moment in her life. The kind stranger symbolized a ray of new hope for her and her family and the North Korean people when they needed it the most. And years later, her family and she united in South Korea after a long journey, and she was obviously very thankful to the stranger and his kindness. And by this story, I just want to convey and to sum up all the events that happened, I want to say that be kind to everyone. You wouldn't know, you could change someone's life for good. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing such a nice story on a kindness. Our next participant is Khushbu Thakkar. Can we have Khushbu Thakkar with us? You can switch on your video and mic on.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Am I visible?
Yes, you are visible too. You can start your story.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Khushbu and I'm a final year civil engineering student at LE College, Morbi. The topic that I've chosen for today's story is about solving a problem. And the title that I've given to my story is, Are You Okay? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Muskan, are you not happy? Yes, I am. Muskan, a 23-year-old girl living with her family, a gregarious personality and sociable person, always seek to maximize social income. She works so hard in sowing and harvesting her ambition. And there she was, with degree completion certificate in her hand, a big smile on her face and excitement sweating through all parts of her body. She was bouncing off the walls to kickstart her new journey. With best wishes in my heart and to her end, I bid her goodbye. She reached a new destination to live her dreams. New place, new people, new norm. Well, her personality never let her feel that. She started interacting with new mass of people. We used to buzz over a phone call almost every day. Being the biggest chatterbox, she used to talk about every single thing from breakfast, office, lunch, her day, right, of people around dinner, everything. But few weeks into the new location, and she was in a trouble. This new environment started affecting her. She was slowly changing from social flower to wallflower. Anger always surrounded her with panic. She was on a roller coaster of emotion. Khushbu, I can't understand what exactly is happening. I can't concentrate. Deadlines are becoming a headache. I feel something inside me is changing. That excitement is vanishing. I feel like dying every single moment. This is so frustrating. I think I'm worthless. It was a stressful period for her because no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't improve. She remained slow, disorganized, and inefficient. Listen, you are overthinking. Being in a new place will take some time to settle down. It will be fine soon. And trust me, you will do. But situation was crumbling. She was feeling as if her mind was fractured and she was the crack that her mind. She decided to seek medical help as there might be symptoms of some kind of cut. Khushbu, Muskan, you sound tense. What happened? I went to the hospital today. Okay, then I have an anxiety disorder. This is so shameful for me and my family. I can't show my face to anyone. But Muskan, listen. She was flattered. She started isolating herself from everyone, accompanying loneliness. She could not share about her pain with anyone. After insisting her multiple times, she gathered herself and decided to go for medication and psychotherapy. She started attending sessions and sharing incidents with her family. Inspiring stories from other side gave her a hope and strength. She started seeing herself as a person with depression rather than a worthless human. She started feeling proud for her accomplishments in the pain of depression. She learned healthy coping skills and problem-solving techniques. She became more functional and started noticing differences in her behavior. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Depression is real, not just a phase. There is a difference between depression and disappointment. This topic is not taboo. Consider it as normal as fever and talk about it. Because the only way to remove this taboo is talking, discussing, and making people aware about it. This is completely normal. Taking therapies is not shameful. Mental health is as important as physical health. And anyone can replace Muskan. You, me, somebody from our family, friends, anyone from people you know. Talk to them, make them feel better. Be there for them because sometimes all they need is open ears to listen to them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Khushbu, for sharing your story. Our next participant is Akriti Gupta. Can we have Akriti Gupta?
Yes. Am I audible?
You are audible but not visible. Can you please turn on your video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akriti Gupta, and I am 22 years old. I am currently pursuing my final year of graduation from Principal MC Shah Commerce College, and I'm glad that I got the opportunity to be able to be the finalist in SCOPE, State Level English Storytelling Competition. So the topic that I've chosen is dig old mythological stories and use them in present setting. So menstruation has always been a taboo and myth that exclude women from many aspects of social cultural life. And there are many stories and religious beliefs which you may have never heard. One of them is a story related to menstruation. The manifestation of the manifestation of the menstrual taboo is a phenomena which is rooted in a Hindu mythological text called Rig Veda. According to Bhagavad Puran, when Devraj Indra became angry, taking advantage of this, the Asuras attacked heaven and Indra had to leave his seat and run away. While resolving this issue, Brahma told him that he should serve Brahmgyani so that he would get his seat back. The mother of Brahmgyani was an Asura, the demon, but Indra Dev was
Sorry
unaware
to
about this.
interrupt you, Akriti. Can you please turn on your video? You are not visible to us.
1 second.
Now, okay.
Okay.
You continue
So
with.
Indradev,
Yeah.
okay. On discovering this, Indradev got angry and he killed Brahmgyani. So in order that because he killed a Brahmin, he was given a sin that he would. Uh, so in order to just
Akriti, you switch off your video and you are not even audible to us. You are not audible and visible to us.
there's some network issues, I think. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible now. Can I take you later on then?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our next participant is Jeel Vadodaria. Can we have Jeel Vadodaria?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please turn on your video? Put your mic on. Jeel, you are not audible. I cannot hear your voice. You are visible, but you are not audible. No, your voice is not coming. No. You are visible, but you are not audible to us. Really, you are still not audible to us. No, you are not audible. If you connected with your mobile, you can start. You can just put your mic on. Can I take you later on? Our next participant is Parikshit Vinayak Joshi. Parikshit.
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you are audible and visible too. Zil,
Hello.
Zil,
Am I audible, ma'am?
yes, Zil, you are audible. Parikshit, I'll take you later on. Zil, you can start your story. You are visible.
Okay.
And Zil, you
Thank
can
you.
start your story. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zeel Vadodaria, and I hail from Bhavnagar. And today, I'm going to participate in the short story competition on the topic travel to a new place and set a story in that backdrop. Ara, a free-minded, independent, and free like a bird woman, had just turned 25, and she was having the golden era of her life. She had just graduated from the top-notch university, and now she was helping in her family business. And she was doing pretty well with it. Actually, she made her business reach to the zenith. One thing that Ara loved the most was traveling. She always took care that she could spare some enough time from the busy schedule and skip into the wilderness to spend some time with thyself. One such place in Ara's bucket list was Sikkim, the snow-cladded organic state. She had her bag packed and itinerary prepared and everything. And this time she chose to drive to that place, to the state. It was far from her native, but she chose to enjoy the journey as well as dissolve into the changing culture from mile to mile and state to state. As soon as she entered the snow-clad peak state of Sikkim, she was awestruck by the beauty, serenity, and gorgeous view around her. As soon as she could continue her journey to the place where she wanted to reach, one place in the neighborhood caught her attention. It was a small building full of small kids, some teachers, and some other people doing some work. She was curious to know what was going on over there. So she went towards that place, and what she saw, she had never seen in her entire life. The small kids were busy doing some work in the premises, like cleaning the premise, planting some trees, learning martial art techniques, learning math, learning about the environment and the flowers and the vegetables growing around. She was really, really surprised by this. She was visiting one of the government schools in the village near Gangtok. The speciality of the school was it was built by the meager income of the villagers. They didn't earn a lot, but they were really fond of education. So with whatever help they could make, they had just built a small building, and the villagers, I mean the teenagers in the village, they voluntarily taught the students some or the other thing. Another specialty of the school was that here they were not only taught about the conventional subjects like math, science, or mother tongue, they were taught each and everything which was important in today's practical life. Like they could fix a car, they could do pottery, they knew how to use the renewable sources so that it could be carried on for generation. They knew the importance of first aid. They knew about the wild plants and animals which were around them. It was a very, very different and a unique scene because Ara belonged to a city life. She had never seen such things. She had seen well-equipped schools, well-dressed uniform. Here, these people were serene and sober, and the confidence they carried, it was very, very different. Ara thought that to preserve such confidence and skills in the students and the children, she immediately dispersed some income from whatever extent of help she could do, and she immediately took the decision to build a well-equipped building for the kids especially. The building would have meals facility, hygiene facility, as well as library, which would have some textbooks from all around the country. So this step she took for the kids, for the students, so that they don't have to go somewhere else for their studies or for employment or such things. Here in my story, you can see that here Ara was just for another vacation. Little did she know that she would be seeing such things. I mean, she would be experiencing such things. This was different from all her vacations. Here, she was going to change lives of so many people. Here we can see that Ara, at the right time, took the right decision for the people which were in great need. Here, she could change the lives of several people of the villagers. Here in my story, you can see that how she used her skills, willpower, education, and all the efforts in the right direction at the right time to change many people's life. That is it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zil, for sharing the very nice story based on the will, education, and how we dealt with the situation. Next is Parikshit. Can I have Parikshit with us? Can we have Parikshit? Parikshit, you can start on your video and put your mic on. Parikshit. Next participant is Parikshit Vinayak Joshi. Can we have Parikshit Vinayak Joshi? Parikshit Vinayak Joshi. And so is Akriti ready? Akriti Gupta?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
You are audible and visible too. You can start your story.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Akriti Gupta and I am 22 years old. I am currently pursuing my final year of graduation from Principal MC Shah Commerce College, and I'm glad that I got the opportunity to participate in Scope State Level English Storytelling Competition. So the topic that I've chosen is take old mythological stories and use them in present settings. So I would like to talk about menstruation. Menstruation has always been surrounded by taboos and myths that exclude women from many aspects of social cultural life. There are many such things in religious beliefs which you may have never heard. One of them is a story related to this. So the manifestation of the menstrual taboo is a phenomena which is rooted in a Hindu mythological text called Rig Veda. According to Bhagavad Puran, when Devraj Indra became angry, taking advantage of the situation, the Asuras attacked the heaven and Indra had to leave his seat and run away. While resolving this issue, Brahma told him that he should serve Brahmgyani so he would get his seat back. The mother of Brahmgyani was an Asura, the demon. So Indradev were unaware of this because that Brahmgyani has a separate place for the Asuras in his mind, and hence he used to offer all the Havan materials of the Indradev to the Asuras in place of God. On discovering this, Indradev got angry and he killed the Brahmgyani, who had given him the sin of killing a Brahmin. To get rid of this sin, God advised Indradev that he should give some part of the sin to the water, tree, and women. So with this, Indradev gave the sin to the women that they would face the torture of menstruation every month, and hence since then it is said that women had taken upon themselves periods as a part of Indra's guilt. Further in the Hindu faith, women are prohibited from participating in normal life while menstruating, and she must be pure in order to even go to the temples and worship the Almighty.
Akriti, you are not visible and audible to us. Can you please put your video on? Can you please switch on your video, Akriti?
Yes, ma'am. I think there's a connectivity issue.
Okay,
can I continue like this?
Yeah, you can continue with this.
Okay, so the underlying basis for this myth is also the cultural belief of impurity associated with menstruation. And it is believed that menstruating women are unhygienic, and it is believed that they're not impure and hence the food can get contaminated. However, no scientific test has shown menstruation as the reason for spoilage of any food in making. So it's time to debunk old tales and misconceptions, because scientifically the actual cause of menstruation is the normal vaginal bleeding of a women's cycle. In fact, many studies in India and elsewhere have revealed that many adolescent girls that think that doing exercise or performing any physical activity during menses aggravate the dysmenorrhea, while in reality, exercise can help relieve the menstruating women with symptoms of premenstrual syndrome, PMS, and also relieves bloating. Exercise can also cause the release of serotonin, making one feel much happier. Therefore, there seems no reason for this notion to persist that menstruating women are impure. On the contrary, breaking the taboos, ancient Hindu traditions recognize women as a representation of Mother Earth. Consequently, in certain parts of the country, menses is equated with the ritual of regeneration and fertility, and thus is celebrated. Connected with the fertility of Mother Earth, the giver of all life, two such festivals that are observed around the same time are the Ambubachi Mela at the Kamakhya temple near Guwahati, Assam, and Raj Parv in Odisha. Both of the festivals are celebrated in mid-June ahead of the monsoon season, which concluded recently. During Raj Parv, women are expected to take rest and thus kept away from all the household chores and other works. The 4-day celebration that begins on the first day of the Hindu month Asar includes receiving gifts, eating special food, singing, dancing, decorating each other with ornaments and alta. In recent times, much like Bollywood blockbusters are timed to Diwali and Eid, regional Odia movies have Raj Parv releases. And how wonderful is that, isn't it? Whereas in Ambubachi Mela, the festival takes place at one of the major Shakti pits where the female genitalia of Sati is said to have fallen. There is no idol of a goddess, and Devi Kamakhya is represented by a stone shaped in the form of palva. So now in present times, a lot of people's mindset has changed. Even the documentary period End of Sentence won an Academy Award for the best documentary shot in 2018. Arunachalam Murunganantham, the real Padman of India, is one such person who challenged the regressive taboos that surround menstruation. Not only by giving women a chance to become entrepreneurs, Murunganantham also challenged the social outlook. Menses is a normal physiologic function. It is one of the vital signs showing good health. So let's not make it a taboo anymore. And maybe instead of hiding it, let's try to promote and promoting shame around it or looking for ways to banish it. Women should appreciate it. Menstrual blood is the only blood that is not traumatically induced. Yet in modern society, this is the most hidden blood, the one so rarely spoken of. Perhaps it is time for a change in perspective. She bleeds, she is impure, she is untouchable, but the irony is it is the same blood that piles up in different bodies for to hold them for 9 months. We are born from that. If that is impure, our very birth is impure, and the entire creation is impure. It is a ridiculous thought in itself. It is not a disease. Menstruation is as natural as breathing, and since menstruation stigma must stop. Period. All it takes is one person, one drive to change our mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Akriti. Our next participant is Parikshit. Parikshit.
Yes, ma'am. Now am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, but you are not visible to us.
Am I visible now, ma'am?
No. Yes, now you are visible and audible.
Yeah, sorry for the connectivity issue, ma'am. Shall I start?
Yes, you can start your story.
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. I am Parikshit Vinayak Joshi from Vadodara, Gujarat, and the topic of my story is traveling to new places and setting a story in that backdrop. Since my childhood, I have always had keen interest in science and space technology. I am also a traveling freak, so I like to travel to the sci-fi parks like the Science City at Ahmedabad, and that is my hobby. I have traveled Science City 4 to 5 times, but each time I visit Science City, I learn something new from them. On one such visit to Science City, along with my guru, my mentor, I was venturing in the park of the Science City and I stumbled upon an inscription. That inscription contained beautiful quotes on leadership qualities. But I was in primary section back then, so the message the inscriptions carried was I was not able to understand it. But my mentor, my guru, recognized that I was scratching my head, so he decided to take the steering wheel of the ship of imagination of mine in his own hands. He told me, "Okay, Parikshit, let me guide you through this story and let me clear your concepts." Once upon a time, there was a young aspiring scientist who was very much interested in space technology and science, just like you. He, on the basis of his merits, through the motivation by his mentors, his gurus, and through his hard work, had achieved great heights in his field. His guru, his mentor, also had very keen role and very important role in shaping his character. One fine day, the scientist receives a draft that read that he had been selected for the post of project manager for the upcoming rocket launch, and the guru, his mentor, would be the project leader. So both the guru, his mentor, and the scientist worked day and night very hard and synchronizing each other's work. And finally, the day of launch came. everything was set to launch the rocket. But at the final moment, a small error occurred. A small error was happened by the young scientist, and the rocket got collapsed. The mission was a failure. The whole nation was in shock. The media person outside were shouting loudly, and they were ready with their burning questions like, how did this happen? Who is responsible for all of this? The young scientist stood there without any hopes. He was standing there staring them all. But then the leader came, that is, his guru came and decided to take on the media. He decided to answer the media questions. Surprisingly, he took the whole blame of the failure of the project upon himself. And after he calmed down the media, he went back to the scientist and told him that, don't worry, we'll work hard next time and it will surely be successful. These words boosted the young scientist, and their project was reassigned back to them. They again worked hard on it, and after some days, the time for relaunch came. And this time, everyone's eyes was on that of the project leader, as everyone was astonished how he had managed to pull this off in so little amount of time. But then the timer struck to zero and liftoff. The project was successful. The rocket was in space. The whole nation was happy. And now it was time to face the media, but this time with a positive news and positive impact. So, as the project leader was approaching to answer the media questions, he turned back to this young scientist and told him that you answer this question. It is your success. The young scientist was astonished, but he surely did answer the media questions. After the interview was over, he looked back at his leader, smiled, waved his hand, and the leader gave him a thumbs up. When the media personnel asked the leader that who will he credit for this success, then the leader told that the success is of the whole team. Now, this is a true story, and it was very much inspirational for me. Now, can you figure out who were this Guru Shishya pair? The Guru was no other than the pride of India and Gujarat, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, and the Shishya was no other than the missile man of India and our former president, late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. This was very much inspiring for me. My Guru further added that a true leader is one which accepts the failure of his team as his personal failure and the success of himself, his personal success, as his team's success. It is very easy to sit on high mounted chairs and to give orders to your fellow teammates, but working alongside with them, working with them in the field, sharing their problems, knowing their problems, trying to communicate with them and to bring out positive results out of them is what defines a true leader. My guru concluded by saying that be a true leader and not a boss. So it was very much inspirational for me, and I hope that you people would also have means this story also would have left a positive impact on you all. So I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to express myself. Stay safe and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Parikshit. Very nicely shared the inspirational story to us. I definitely say that all the students and who watch this storytelling competition will definitely inspired by this story. Next participant is Riddhi Mehta. Riddhi Mehta, can you switch on your video?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you are audible and visible too.
Okay, shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, you can start your story.
Okay. Hello, my name is Riddhi Mehta. I am a student at Marwari University who is here to present the story. My topic is dig an old mythological story and use it in the present situation. Duryodhan, the eldest Kaurav, was sitting on his turquoise couch when a message flashed on his screen from Guru Drona. He said, Alexa, play Professor Drone's message. When Alexa said, playing with dear message by Professor Drone, an apprehensive Guru Dronacharya was shown on his iPad, gawking at the screen while wearing his round-rimmed spectacles that glistened in the sunlight. He said, students, I am sending this video to notify you all that there will be a practical session on archery tomorrow. Students who have not submitted their assignments in Google Classroom will not be allowed to participate. Furthermore, everyone is supposed to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Technical Dronacharya Ji, where I upload exclusive content. Thank you. Next day following lunch, Pandavas and Kauravas gathered for the practical session. Guru Dronacharya in his pristine outfit said, "Students, everyone is supposed to stand in a queue according to your age. This practical session requires you to pass your arrow through the eyes of the bird sitting within the tree right in front of you. And remind you, both the bird and the tree are fake because animal cruelty is against the law." As students queued up, Guru Dronacharya asked Yudhishthir to go first as he asked him, "Yudhishthir, what do you see?" Yudhishthir gave a shrug which was followed by a very serious expression as he said, "Sir, when I look at this tree, I see the world ending. This tree and the bird look exactly like they are real, but in reality, they are fake. Just as how we create a facades for ourselves for the sake of popularity. This tree can replace the real one only by appearance, but not by its ability to sustain life." Guru Drona then said, "You see a larger picture, which is geared towards making you a great leader, but this cannot lead you to become a great archer." Next was the mighty Bhim. When Guru Drona looked at him, he said, "Bhim, I know you are daydreaming about your food." Bhim then said, "Sir, you are genius." Guru Drona then said, "Go, run around the ground before you place your Zomato order." Bhim then said, "Sir, you are indeed genius. I was actually thinking about Okay, don't stare at me. I'm going. Next was Duryodhan. Guru Drona asked him the same question, to which Duryodhan replied, "Sir, what I see is with my aiming skill, I will accurately hit the target, while Dushasan, with his cinematic skills, will create a reel which I will upload on Instagram and gain fame all over the world." Dronacharya then said, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Duryodhan." Next was Arjun. As he took the stage, Guru Drona asked him the same question. "What do you see, Arjun?" Arjun then said, "Sir, I see the bird's eye." "Okay, what else do you see, Arjun?" Guru asked. Arjun then said, "Sir, I only see the bird's eye." Guru Drona became elated. He instructed Arjun to aim. As Arjun took his stance, aimed at the bird's eye, a few moments later, an arrow flew straight through the eye of the bird and bang! He hit the bird's eye with sheer perfection. Guru Drona said proudly, "Well done, Arjun. Tell us all, how did you accomplish your goal?" Arjun then said, "Sir, what this era lacks are focus and attention. With 30 seconds real content, we feel the connection. Our attention span has reduced if we discuss. Notoriously ill-focused goldfish defeats us. Focus is the key to increase your productivity. Blurring the rest unlocks your ability. Concentrate on red blood eyes of the bird and one shall see the target conquered." Thank you.
Thank you, Riddhi. Very nicely shared the mythological story and connect with the current scenario in the present world. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to share with you that we will announce the winner's name on our Scope Facebook page and YouTube channel. And we will also inform you through mail. And one more thing, we will share with you the feedback form in the WhatsApp group. So please fill up that feedback form and share your 1 minute of review regarding this Scope event. How would you like this storytelling competition and what was your experience about this storytelling competition? Share it with us, a 1 minute or 2 minute of video on our WhatsApp group. as we have already made the WhatsApp group of all these participants. So please share your video and please fill the feedback form. As we have like all the participants has nicely shared the story, and we went into the imagination of the world, as Mansi ma'am said, and now come to the real world. So I'm thankful to Nagarajan sir, who gave us an opportunity to organize this competition. I'm thankful to Mansi ma'am. Without her constant support, we could not make this storytelling competition successful. I'm also thankful to our today's judges of this competition, Dr. Manish Vyas sir and Beenal Gadvi ma'am, who has shared their valuable time with us. And last but not the least, all the finalists, all the participants, and who have joined with us on the Facebook Live and YouTube channel. Thank you all of you.